Team category this year, so we'll jump straight to the boys under 17. And we've got representing Malaysia, an all-Malaysian affair, Jared, Michael, Nalliah and Nala, I'm being told by my new co-commentator who's come to save the day. Great to have Robert Arfan here, who's the chairman of referees of the Singapore Rackets Association and the Squash Association as well, the Squash Rackets Association, and the director of referees on the Southeast Asian Squash Federation. You've got some CV here, Robert. We've got a couple of minutes, so I'll read it all out. And the Asian Squash Federation, Southeast Asian focal point of the ASF referee, assessor and instructor. So it's great to have you here, Robert, because we've been talking to, great to have Raiden and Tim Arnold with me earlier, and we were looking about the ruling on lets in the modern game, because there's been an instructions now handed down that the umpires, referees have been told to sort of try and avoid lets wherever possible and encourage the players to be a bit more physical. Would that be fair? Or
exactly, Patrick, what you just said. Right now, there is what is known as the new line of thinking on the interpretation of interference, which is the lets, the no lets, and the strokes. With this new line of thinking, what actually the objective here is to ensure proper continuity of the match or the rally in play, the game itself, and to make it more exciting. Giving a let is exactly replaying a rally. It does not necessarily reflect the fairness of a player who had played a good shot to ask the player to play a let or replay a rally. Now, squash has been at the backstage trying to get into the Olympics, and one of the reasons why we are being held back, the Olympic Committee assessors themselves who viewed the squash was questioning why we have to keep playing the lets over and over again. And in these circumstances, just like what we are doing here, you have live coverage. Now, squash does not have a limited time like soccer. You have to finish off within 19 minutes and an extra time, where squash can go on, it could even go on to 2 hours over. Now, what will happen for just securing 1 point, and you have to play 3 or 4 legs? And there's 33 points in the game itself, I mean a match.
Yeah, that's really insightful, and I'll tell you why, because the Olympic argument hadn't even crossed my mind. It's incredible when you think about squash and how popular it's been, and all across the world, obviously, not just in Asia. It's got mainstays all over the world. How it's still not got Olympic status. It's the one sport, you'd suggest, that's really the glaring omission by the Olympic Committee at the moment. We'll get back to that throughout the course of this game, Robert, but let's talk about this one, because going back to what you said, your arrival is very timely, because it does look, certainly on the strength of the early rallies, that this is going to be one of our longer games today. Incredibly, all our live finals matches, obviously there's lots of matches for placements going on the outside court today. It's a really busy day here at Cologne. All our finals have been won in straight games so far, so we've had some quite quick matches, but I'm reliably informed by those in the know like yourself that as we go up to the higher bands now with this under 17 and then of course the under 90s to finish off, that we will start getting obviously some longer rallies, and by nature some more competitive, the games have been competitive, but some more longer games that maybe go to 4 or 5 games in a match.
Yes, you're right. What I viewed, or how I can see it, is that the players for the last few days during the qualifying, the quarterfinals and semi-finals, both have played hard matches, 5-setters, we call it, 4, 5-setters, not straight games. And probably one of the players who are playing in the finals are a bit slightly exhausted from their game, and maybe by having all the matches for the last few days, one of them had pushed or upped up their standards or their game plan, so probably had an advantage with the exposure, and probably the other one had less advantage with the exhaustion that they had been put through grueling matches for the last few days.
Yeah, I think we've seen that certainly in some of the early encounters. I think that definitely applies to Yuji Nunu, had a very hard semi-final and then was brushed aside by Singapore's own Edward Thung. Back to this game in hand now, and there's been a couple of delightful shots. We've been having a chat played by Jared Michael, it's Nalliah, is it?
Nalliah.
Jared Michael Nalliah. And the number 1 seed is in control of this first game at the moment against his countryman from Malaysia, Sean Lowe, who's just getting a little bit frustrated. And having given this the build-up as maybe one of the longer matches, just like that.
Yep.
9-2 up in the first game, and it's incredible. I'm going through the scorelines of some of these top elite players that have reached the final. A lot of them have had very one-sided games all the way through the draw, and still when they come to the final, just that cigarette paper of difference in class between the two can lead to some, just the ability, isn't it, in squash, Robert, to come up with that killer shot. You can have these rallies that go on for 25 shots, and everyone thinks that they've been fully in control, and just that one misdirection or one delicate touch can turn a point on its head.
Yes, very true. That's what you said, you know, a rally could last for 25 shots, and both of them are trying to outplay each other with strategies of placing the ball until they get that.
You saw it in the final match for the boys under 17 finals. Put your hands together for the champion of boys under 17 in 2018, Jared Michael Nalliah, America.